Hi, Heather.
Hi.
So we have a big-ish week coming up. We've got our Leadership for Liminal Spaces webinar number 5 coming up on Thursday,
Right.
Psychology of Leadership. You and I have lots and lots, probably far too much juicy stuff to share there,
As always, yeah, we're
as
focusing
always.
especially on beliefs and biases and identity, which is
Yeah,
three big topics in one
pretty
web.
much.
Yeah,
Yeah, and ones that we chew on all the time. So it's
exactly.
probably why we have so much to say.
Yeah.
But the other thing that's coming up this coming Sunday is the first session of our new, well, not new, newly renamed, but not new program, Know Yourself.
Is it this
Uh,
coming Sunday already? Isn't it 2 weeks from?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, June
man.
1st.
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah.
know, I know, I
Yeah.
know. This,
Soon.
it feels like June is almost over already. So,
I know.
anyways, this
Still
is
had a
your
couple
last week to get
couple
in on
weeks.
that program.
Right.
And Heather's like, oh no, I have more to prepare. Um,
Yeah. Too much.
June is always a bit batty in our worlds, but we do love it. There's lots of good stuff that's going on.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, so I wanted to talk a little more about that particular program because for those who haven't taken it, you may not know that it is our least self-helpy program with the most self-helpy kind of name. um, but one of the things, the taglines in here that you put on our sales page is that this is the time when it is especially crucial to be our most grounded, most connected, most human, and most wise selves. And I was wondering whether you would like to attempt to unpack what you mean, particularly about wise self, what that
Yeah.
looks like, and how it may be different, is different from an actualized self or a divine self or a healed self,
Yeah.
because we don't truck with those kinds of words. So tell me what comes up for you when you hear your own words back to you
Yeah.
about this wise self thing.
When you force me to think about what I put down. Yeah, I mean it's a big question, and I keep trying to unpack that, and I think our work is really in a lot of ways about unpacking that because I think you can have a knowledgeable self, you can have a like you know an I think wise as a term sort of combines a few different streams. I think that wisdom is knowledge plus discernment. Like it's what I know, but then what I've grounded in a deeply humble and yeah, I'm trying to think of other words that are related, way that leads to wise action where it's not just head knowledge, but it's grounded in somatic wisdom and heart knowledge. And so it's kind of a one of those words that sort of combines some concepts for me. And I think wisdom is a lot of things, and the reason why we sometimes differentiate where we, like you say, where it's not really a self-help program, even though it has sort of self-help language. The reason we differentiate is for us when we look at the self-help world, it still kind of reeks of that individualist part of our culture that is about heal me, fix me, so I can be my best self. But it's a bit divorced from the way we need to live in this, especially in this current climate, but in general, in terms of grounding ourselves, rooting ourselves in a wisdom around systems, a wisdom around connection and community and how to be in relationship and how to be living a wise life in relationship to the earth and all of those things. So it feels like a deeper quest than just a self-help kind of thing. It feels like this is yeah, this is evolving. We talk about human development as opposed to personal development. Human development is how do I become mature and grounded in a way that causes less harm to the earth, in a way that interweaves me and helps me understand the collectiveness of our beings and our responsibility in the world. And so what does wisdom look like? Well, it looks like emotional maturity, understanding how your emotions actually work and how you respond to the world emotionally. It looks like understanding a bit about your nervous system, how that gets activated, and the choices that you make based on the activation of your nervous system, or the reactivity and the ways that you respond to triggers or things that activate you. It means understanding, as I said, having a little bit of a systemic knowledge of the impact that you have, your identity, what your identity, how you've been shaped in your life in terms of who you identify as and how that identity is connected to other identities in the collective. So yeah, it feels like a rich and deep, like, I don't know. It's almost like I was telling you I was watching this video on the weekend about somebody who is rewilding the landscape that he lives on and all the effort he has to put into reclaiming the wilderness of that landscape. And I feel like that's what we're doing in terms of
Mm,
humanity. It's like, what are the things we have to do to pluck out the invasive species, but then to replant the native species that actually make this a rich and vibrant and filled with wildlife kind of place to be. If I can use that metaphor, kind of, that's the way that we approach understanding and encouraging people towards human development and human rootedness.
mm.
That all makes sense. I've kind of rambled,
Yeah.
but
No, I love that. I love that so much. I didn't even think of that connection until you just made it. A rewilding of humanity, of
yeah,
our humanity.
yeah,
That's such a great metaphor. But it makes me think too that one of the other things that I've always loved about this program is the number of interviews you've done with
yeah,
folks we called wise guides,
yeah.
to help sort of broaden people's perspective on various areas. And how many people, I forget even how many people you
Like
interviewed.
20 or something. It's
Yeah,
a fairly high
just
number anyways. I can't
almost 2 dozen, I feel
remember.
like. Yeah, and they all bring such unique perspectives, and that alone I feel like makes the price of the course worth it, just to be able
Yeah.
to listen to some of those folks and glean some of their wisdom. um so
Yeah,
yeah,
because there's a real
yeah, go.
diversity of
Yeah.
voices, and which was really intentional on my part to
Yeah.
reach out to people who had shaped me in some way, and
Hmm.
whose voices I think are needed when we're weaving together and rewilding ourselves the
Yeah.
kind of wisdom that we need. And these are all people that continue to be growing their own wisdom.
Yeah.
They're not people who would ever claim to be complete in any way. But yeah,
No.
those voices are definitely an integral part of how we
Yeah.
built the program.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing I like about the concept of wisdom, is that it does feel more like a process word. um
I
it
think
because it's
so.
something that I don't think anyone would ever claim. I am wise and I can get no wiser.
And then you've just proven your lack of wisdom.
Right? Exactly. I think that's one of the things I liked about that choice of that particular word for this
Yeah,
program. That does, so I know we've been using, we had used freedom for a long time with this program.
yeah.
We'd associated that word with this, but um I think wisdom fits in a way that feels more in line with what we're offering in this program.
I
Not
think
that there's no freedom to be had, I think, in
I
learning
think
some of this stuff, but
well, part of our concern was a bit of the co-opting of the language of
yeah.
liberation and freedom. It felt a little bit like we don't maybe know what that word means, and
Hmm.
people's assumption around it might be different.
Yeah.
And also, what does collective liberation look like versus individual liberation? And maybe collective liberation is going to mean I have to give up some of my
Mm.
freedoms to
Yep.
contribute to the collective. So it gets a little bit complicated, I think. And that was why we moved away from that a little bit, because it felt in this current, especially political climate, it felt a little bit challenging to really address that in a way. And because I think
Yeah.
it's still about liberation
Yeah.
ultimately. Um, but we have to do a lot of wise living to get to what really genuinely, it's like the rewilding. I mean,
Yeah.
like ultimately this land that I was in terms of the video I was watching, it becomes a more liberated landscape, but the process of liberation looks pretty complicated and maybe doesn't look like liberation in a lot of times in the process, I think.
Well, and I can imagine that this person doing that rewilding may not even get to see the full fruits of his labor
Absolutely.
before he's done,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that as things become more wild, it will need him less too,
Yeah. Yeah.
to some extent,
Yeah.
right? So,
But it
so
does
that,
need him. And that's, I mean, that's a
yeah,
whole other story, but we
right.
do need to contribute our wisdom to a
Yes.
collective rewilding. And that's, I think, crucial in
Yeah.
understanding. And that's why, and I keep working in my mind, at some point I'm going to write this post, but I keep thinking if we had a deeper understanding of our value and the fact that we
Mm,
actually all do matter, but not in a
yeah.
individualist understanding of mattering. We matter as part of the collective. And if you think about the word matter, it's like the soil is the matter that we're
Yeah.
that is plants are planted in, that the
Yeah.
world grows in. That's what we are, part of that soil. We are part of the
Yeah.
collective. And if we saw ourselves more that way, which is, I think, part of what we're talking about, wisdom, understanding
Yes.
of ourselves, that would change the way we're living and as a collective, and the impact we're
Yeah.
having globally on the earth. And yeah.
It's true. It's true. Yeah. I love that. Yeah, I mean, there's so much more to this course. We're packing it into a real tight frame this next month, but it's juicy, it's delicious. You'll have access to it after the fact.
Yeah.
So you can sit with it for the whole year, maybe longer if you need it. Um, we would love for you to join us. We're going to be sitting in some good community, asking good questions, and the whole thing ends in joy, which I think is
Exactly.
just lovely
Yeah,
at the end
spoiler
of the
alert, we
day.
get to
Spoiler
joy.
alert, I'm gonna give that away because I feel like it's important. But it does, it ends in joy, and that is delightful,
Yeah.
I think, because it is hard work to do the rewilding.
Yeah.
And yet you were telling me about this, about the fact that this gentleman had put like cameras all
Yeah.
over his property and all of the animals that he gets to see and the joy that that must bring him for all the hard work that he's doing.
It's so
Um,
clear that he's
yeah,
just delighted to watch everything, every moose or deer or that, or lynx that
yeah,
crosses his land is a
yeah.
delight to him. And I just, yeah, and
And I think
that
the same would be
devotion.
true with us, right?
Well, that's the thing. Like, I think we resist this because it feels like such hard work, and it is hard work,
Yeah,
but
it is hard work.
ultimately it's like, what a delightful way to live. And
Yeah,
yeah, enter into that path knowing that it is there are really great rewards in
yeah.
store for us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, hardships too, but also great joy and great delight.
Yeah.
And good community, which
Yeah.
is a thing that I take great delight in.
Yeah.
And good conversations. And so yeah, we would really, really love to have you join us.
And hey, if
Um,
you join us for this course, you become one of our alumni, which means that
you
you can
betcha.
join us in person in September if you
Yes.
want, here on Vancouver
Yes, I
Island.
am so excited to be able to actually like see people in person
Yeah.
because we've done all of our work essentially, apart from you, but I've done all of this work for 5 years now on a computer screen. So
Yeah.
I am super excited to
Yeah.
see everyone in
Yeah.
person. There's some of our team members that I have never seen in
Yeah.
person, which is wild.
Speaking of joy, we
I
get
know,
down
I'm so
areas of
excited.
joy.
So join our program, then come to our retreat. We're
Exactly.
not building a cult, but we are building lots of good friendships.
Yeah.
Anything else before we let people get back to their days, Heather?
No, I mean, there's still time to join us for this Thursday's webinar as well, if you
Yes. Yeah.
want a taste of beliefs and biases and identities. But otherwise,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see you somewhere.
See you somewhere.
Thanks
See
for
you
paying
somewhere.
attention to our work.
You betcha. Check out our website, more details, more information there. Shoot me an email if you have more questions. Get in touch with us here on Substack. If you're watching us here, feel free to leave a comment, like
Yeah.
and share, and subscribe or something. Like, I don't know what the cool kids say anymore.
Yeah, or just go out in the woods and,
Yeah, do that too. Like, subscribe, and then go sit in the woods.
Exactly.
Perfect. It's a perfect combination of events. All right. Take care. We'll talk to you again.